Hello everyone, welcome on in. It is the second Betting Weekly Game Bet match of the week. We're looking ahead to the tournaments in Acapulco and Santiago over in Chile with my co-host and our senior ATP Tour handicapper. It is Sean Calvert. Before we introduce you to Sean, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that like. We are approaching 8,000 subscribers, and with your help, we can do that in the next couple of weeks, as well as hitting a very big milestone here on the channel on Betting Weekly Studios. We are very close to 1 million views, and with your help over the next couple of weeks, we can achieve just that. Okay. Good afternoon, Sean Calvert. How are you?
Good afternoon. That's a lot, isn't it? 1 million views. That's
1 million views.
pretty good.
Amazing.
That I like
and
that.
9,999 of them come from your courtside in Delray Beach last week. Believe it or not.
I don't think they did.
No, I didn't. A million views. And when I tell you what, I take so much credit for. Well, not credit, but I take so much.
You can take the credit if you want.
Well, I do take a bit of credit, but I mean, I'm really. I mean, other people have been in this space doing this kind of stuff for 14 years, and they haven't hit 1 million views, and we're going to do it in 18 months, which is a little bit of credit, but also very proud of what we've achieved in a short period of time. So amazing.
Someone going, isn't it, from everybody?
Yeah, team has been brilliant, and also the people. We've formed a community, and we win together, we lose together. And we have a bit of fun along the way. So thanks very much for watching and, enjoying that. Anyway, talking of winning.
At the minute, we're losing together, aren't we?
I was going to say, I was just about to say that. Talking about losing together. It's been a bad couple of weeks. Last week wasn't great. And Dubai is pretty poor in the tournament so far. I mean, Hampton was a shining light yesterday, but what was a gloomy day?
Yeah, I mean, last week was difficult, wasn't it? Because we record the show on a Sunday, Tuesday and Wednesday, and there weren't any underdog winners going in at all in Doha. I think 3 of the first 22 or 23 won in Doha, and they were all losing 2-0. So there was nothing. There was not a carrot in Doha for underdog backers. And Dubai, as I've said at the start of the show on Sunday, it tends to be not a great tournament for underdog winners. Although the ones we had yesterday lost, and then today they're all winning, aren't they? So yeah, it's a strange tournament. Dubai is one of them tournaments, and Doha, they're two that I've never really been that keen to go to because of mainly, particularly Dubai, very few underdog winners, and it doesn't really appeal to me, that. So yeah, and obviously at the time we had to record the show on Sunday, we only had odds for Dubai and some of Santiago, didn't we? So we couldn't really have done much else. But yeah, poor performances yesterday. Evans was a gamble based on what he's capable of, or what he was capable of, which doesn't seem to be the case anymore. And Tsitsipas, I was complaining, wasn't I? I said about Tsitsipas, I was saying he doesn't seem to be doing anything about his career, just letting it slide. All of a sudden, he turns up against Sonego with a brand new racket, and it gives him a little bit of extra juice or whatever. And obviously, I'm not privy to that information till after the fact. So yeah, I think Artifice lost today, so things aren't going well at the minute. But they went great in Rotterdam, and you treat every loss and win the same. That's kind of the way to do it. I know people will say, I've lost 7 or 8, 5 or 6 in a row, whatever. And yeah, it's frustrating, but you have to be able to rise above it a little bit and say, that's how it goes.
And we've said exactly the same thing for 2 or 3 years. We've done this a long, long time. You do go through bad stages. And I also think it's quite a difficult time this week and the week before.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Just before a couple of the Sunshine Double. I mean, that's the priority where these players are going to be. They're going to, the bigger players are thinking about that. They don't want to go all in, and the logic is here. I mean, all we do is give you the logic, give you the reason, and it's up to you whether you pull the trigger or not and place the bet. So, this is what we do, and long term we have been very successful, and this year will be the same again. Anyway, we've gone through that many times, and we do give credit to ourselves when we win. One thing we didn't do on Sunday, we didn't talk about the tournament in Acapulco. There was no odds. Could we? Now you've had a couple of days. You've looked at it.
Yes.
Now we're not. Now, even though we've had a bad couple of days and lost a couple of bets and we've lost some future winners, one thing we advise you not to do is go loco down in Acapulco.
Definitely
get that straight away. Do not go loco.
You were waiting to get that in, weren't you?
I had to get it. One of my favourite songs were the Four Tops and the great film called Buster. Have you ever seen that before? We're talking about films. We were talking about the best gambling films of all time on the dojo this morning.
Okay.
And I haven't watched any of them, but I have watched Buster. Acapulco over in Mexico. Before we go on to the odds, there are some latest odds there. We have seen some matches. So you would have seen how the court conditions are. Yeah. You would have seen about the weather. The weather's going to be pretty humid, pretty hot, I'm gathering.
Yes.
So what have you taken out from the matches that you've seen so far?
Yeah, it's always a slowish conditions here in Acapulco. The ATP don't tell us what the surfaces are anymore. But I'm assuming it's the same as previous, which is a Solflex outdoor hard court. In the old days, the ATP used to give you the draw sheet and tell you exactly what surface it was. Like if you ever look at the Davis Cup scores, by the way, it tells you exactly what surface it is, like down to the letter, and it tells you exactly what ball they're using for every tie. You don't get that with the ATP. They just put hard. So unless the tournament makes a sort of showing of having changed the conditions or saying, look at this, we've installed some new courts or whatever, unless they say that, which a lot of these tournaments don't, then you don't really know until after the fact. But I'm assuming it's the same Solflex outdoor hardcore that it was before. They play with Wilson balls. It's slow, it's bouncy. They play at night to avoid the heat. So they start around about sort of 6 p.m. local time. It's always been tough conditions with the humidity. The humidity makes it, 3 or 4 degrees warmer than the dial temperature. The stats kind of show how slow it is. It averages only 77.6% holds and 71.6% first serve points won in the 4 editions since COVID, and similar before that. So it's pretty slow conditions. Not many tie-break matches. 34% in the last 4 editions have featured a tie-break. Really, I wouldn't be backing too many set one overs here. Only 21% of the matches here in the last 4 editions have gone over 10.5 games in the first set, which would equate to odds of 4.75 plus 375. You'd probably need to be getting to dabble in that market. But the overs and unders, there's not often a trend in these tournaments, but in this one, possibly because of the heat, possibly because of Indian Wells looming large on the horizon, it's gone 56% unders. I'm assuming that's because, if you're setting a breakdown in these conditions, you're not really feeling the energy to come back. That may be the case, but it's certainly gone unders. As far as the weather is concerned, let's have a look at the weather for tomorrow. I think it's going to be about 30. I think all week it's basically the same, 30 to 32 every day. Humidity makes it more like sort of 35 real feel. As I say, they play at night. It is, they get out of the sunshine, but it is still very hot and humid around about that time. So as far as the trends are concerned, there's only been one number 1 seed winner of this tournament since it moved from clay to hard in 2014. This was always a clay court tournament back in the day. It moved surfaces in 2014, and Nadal is the only top seed ever to have won this since 2014. That was in 2020 that he won that. That was COVID year, I think. Going further, the number 1 seed has only made the final 3 times in the 11 editions that it has been played on a hard court. So a poor tournament for number 1 seeds. No qualifiers has ever made the final here yet. Again, possibly because of the conditions. Plus, obviously, it's a 500. Qualifiers don't tend to do that well in these sort of tournaments. And if you look at the winners lately, they've all been kind of pretty tough physical players. Alex de Minaur's won it the last couple of times. Nadal, Zverev, Cam Norrie, Casper Ruud and Tsitsipas have been runners-up here in recent years. It does tend to give the clay quarters a bit more of a chance than a lot of these sort of lower bouncing, slicker hard courts. It's certainly a tournament where you would expect the clay guys to be able to compete on a reasonably level footing with the hard quarters.
Let's have a look at the draw. Alexander Zverev is the number 1 seed. He is yet to play. He plays in the match we're going to talk about in a minute against Matteo Arnaldi. He's in the top half of the draw. He's scheduled to play Mahak in the quarterfinals. We have Holger Rune, who's yet to play. He's scheduled to play Ben Shelton in the top, completes the top half of the draw. The bottom half of the draw is Shapovalov and Tommy Paul. Shapovalov has also got a match we're going to come on to in a minute. And you've got TFO, who's got a tricky match as well against Muller. He's scheduled to play Casper Ruud. So the seeds in the bottom half will be Shapovalov, Paul, TFO, and Ruud. Who do you like on that outright market there?
I like Casper Ruud. I really like Casper Ruud here for a number of reasons. If I can get the draw sheet in front of me, it would probably help.
The conditions, the slow conditions,
yes,
would be that's the main reason.
Yeah, that's certainly a big factor. Yeah, he's in the weaker bottom half of the draw. Musetti withdrew, was replaced by Shapovalov, who was previously in the top half of the draw. We'll talk about that Shapovalov match in a minute. TFO's not in great form. He's in another one of those. He seems to have a yearly slump, doesn't he, after the US Open? And he kind of comes back around. He wakes up again around about the summer. He hasn't won back-to-back matches in any of his 8 tournaments since the US Open now, TFO. He's only made 1 quarterfinal here in Acapulco, no further in 6 appearances. The obvious threat as far as Casper Ruud's concerned in that bottom half of the draw is Tommy Paul, but I think Tommy will have one eye on Indian Wells, personally. I remember one year, I think it might have been 2023, actually, when he played a lot of really, really tough matches. I think he ended up losing to Alex de Minaur. Anyway, he had a really long, tough session in Acapulco, and both de Minaur and Paul really struggled in Indian Wells. De Minaur got beaten straight sets by Fucsovic, if I remember rightly. I think Tommy Paul lost in the first round here last year. He did. He lost in the first round here to Jack Draper. So that's not far from a disgrace, obviously, but Draper generally better on a quicker court. I just get the feeling that Tommy Paul, if push comes to shove, would certainly be more interested in going on a run in Indian Wells at home, rather than here. I don't think Casper Ruud has that same issue. And the reason I think that is because Casper Ruud has said numerous times that he doesn't like conditions in Indian Wells, doesn't like the balls, finds it really hard to play there. So for me, if I was Casper Ruud, and I don't like playing in Indian Wells, but I do want to get a lot of ranking points, I would certainly be looking here to get 500 in Acapulco, where the conditions do suit me, him, whatever. And his record shows that he does enjoy these conditions. It's kind of obvious that he would. Slow, bouncy. He's 7-2 win-loss here. Made the final last year. Service points won and return points won, total of 103 at this tournament, and a hold and break total of 107, 89% holds of serve. So it all looks quite nicely set up for me. He's beaten Rinder Kinesh, as you would expect, in the first round. He'll probably have Vukic in the second round. You would expect Ruud to beat him in these sort of conditions. As I've said, he would potentially play TFO. Maybe. You can't really tell with TFO at the minute. Possibly Davidovich for Kina. It shouldn't be that much of a worry for Casper Ruud. And then looking further, as I said, Tommy Paul is a possibility, but I just feel like Ruud is the one more likely to go for it here rather than Indian Wells.
Those tournament winner prices are available on the BetRivers app and on the website, and they're available till 7 p.m. this evening on Tuesday, and that is when the action starts. That's Eastern time, 7 p.m. Eastern time. That is when the action starts over in Mexico. An hour after the action starts, 8:10, we have our first match we want to discuss. It's number one seed Alexander Zverev up against Matteo Arnaldi. Zverev got to the final of the Australian Open, but he's come over to the South American clay courts campaign. He's got to the quarterfinals in Buenos Aires. He's got to the quarterfinals in Rio, but hasn't really done anything really on that clay court season. That's very uninspiring. If you look at Arnaldi, he's in good form actually. Got to the quarterfinals in Dallas, got beat by Munar. Got to the semi-finals in Delray Beach, where he got beat by Davidovich Fokina. But yet he's a big outsider here. I would expect the conditions to probably suit the Italian. -$4 is the price of Zverev. $3 for Arnaldi. Spread 3.5. Total is 22.5. These two players have never met before, but on a hard court this year, Zverev has been superb. 8 wins and 1 loss, and that was in the final of the Australian Open against Jannik Sinner. But this is very, very different conditions to what he had in Melbourne.
Very different, and a very different kind of motivation factor as well. Obviously, a major compared to a tournament in tough conditions. A few days only. If he gets the latter stages, it's only a few days between the end of Acapulco and the start of Indian Wells. Again, you would think at the stage of the career that he's at, that he would prefer Indian Wells, or certainly be more motivated for Indian Wells than this. I know he's done well here in the past, but you've got to really manage your energy and everything else when you are at the top of the game like he is, world number 2. We did say he probably wouldn't have the best golden swing because it's something he'd never done before, and he didn't have a very good golden swing at all, did he? He didn't beat anybody convincingly at all in South America, and losses to Comersana and Cerundolo. Okay, Cerundolo's very, very decent on his day. Comersana, little surprising that he lost to him, but it shows you how difficult it is. These players just rock up at the golden swing with having not played it before, and expect big things of themselves. But it's difficult. Now he's switching surfaces again, back to hard courts from the clay, coming with a little bit of dented ego potentially after a pretty mediocre performance in South America. Now he's got Arnaldi first up, who he's never met at all, so he's got no sort of past to draw on, and who, as you said, has been playing well. Quarterfinal in Dallas, semi-final in Delray Beach, which is similar-ish conditions to here. Humid, Quite slow and bouncy hard court. It's not dissimilar to Acapulco, I suppose. And he's been playing well at 2025 at main level. Service points won and return points won, total of 101. Very solid level for a player just outside the top 30 in the rankings. I just wonder how into it Zverev is going to be, given everything he's not only has he played a lot, he's travelled a lot as well. He's got Indian Wells to think about. In the opening round here last year, he lost to Daniel Altmaier in the first round here last year. I just wonder how he's going to approach this. And you would think that Arnaldi will be better prepared, having played his last 3 matches on outdoor hard, 3 matches prior to that on indoor hard. So he should be the one, and he's obviously not travelled to South America, so he should be better prepared for this. If you look also what Arnaldi's done against top 10 opposition in the last 12 months, beat Andrei Rublev on hard courts, beat Taylor Fritz here in Acapulco last year, and he's taken sets against Alcaraz at Indian Wells, twice against Medvedev in Shanghai and in Madrid, and against Tsitsipas at the French Open, where he could have been 2 sets to love up. I remember that match. So in 8 matches against top 10 opponents in the last 12 months, he's taken at least a set on 6 occasions. And this looks a good opportunity for him to make that 7 out of 9. So Arnaldi here, plus 1.5 sets for me. I'm going to take, he's only got to win a set. Even money, that is, plus 100 with Bet Rivers. Arnaldi, plus 1.5.
Yeah, Arnaldi, plus a set and a half. He's got to win 1 set. Is available at even money. 27 different markets available on the Bet Rivers website. And if you do have a bet on this match or any of the matches this evening or on the match bets throughout the week, you better bet live and watch live on Bet Rivers. You'll have to live stream the match which you place a wager on. Next match we have is Denis Shapovalov up against Basavareddy. Denis Shapovalov was in sensational form in his last tour, winning the tournament in Dallas in probably the best tennis he's played for a long, long time. He beat Taylor Fritz, he beat Mahak, he beat Paul, and he thrashed Casper Ruud in the final as well. So really, and Kekmanovic he beat as well. Brilliant, brilliant form. Roll back the years there, but that was indoors. This is outdoors, where he hasn't had the best of years. Only 2 wins from his 5 matches. And he's up against a player that really impressed Basavareddy to start the year. Got to the semi-finals, in Auckland, where he got beat by Gael Monfils. And he took a set off Novak Djokovic in the Australian Open, did the American here. This is a much closer bets match to call from Bet Rivers. Minus 134, they make the Canadian Shapovalov. Plus 108, the young American. Spread 1.5, and total here is 22.5. The big question mark you got here, Sean, is if can Shapovalov replicate that form in Dallas? But judging by his credentials and the way he plays, I doubt it very, very much. So against a dangerous opponent here, a player who I was really impressed with early in the year. Yeah,
this is annoying actually, because when I first looked at this, Basavareddy was plus 150, and now he's plus 108.
He is on the drift a little bit now. There is a bit of money coming for Shapovalov, so I think the price is going to be between the two. I think if you're a Basavareddy better or a fan, you might get a little bit better price come time the match starts.
Yeah, if that's the case, then it makes it more appealing. It's just, originally I would have gone all in on Basavareddy at plus 150. As you've said, he's shown his level already this season. Semi-final in Auckland as a qualifier. And obviously took the opening set against Djokovic as well at the Australian Open. If we look at what he's done this season on outdoor hard at main level, Basavareddy 102 in terms of his service points won and return points won total, and a service hold and break total of 103. I know it's a very small sample size of a couple of months or whatever, but it's the level that he's playing at. He was playing at a strong level at the end of last season as well. If you look at Shapovalov, the difference between indoors and outdoors is it's night and day with him. It really is incredibly stark, the difference between his statistics on each of those surfaces. If we look at his last 10 matches on outdoor hard, Shapovalov, service points won and return points won total of 96, and a service hold and break total of 92. If we look at his last 10 matches indoors, he's won every single one. He's 10-0. He's got a service points won and return points won total of 110, and a service hold and break total of 121. So, yeah, the difference is it couldn't be starker, could it? He excels indoors, doesn't have any of the elements to worry about. I mean, it may well be the case that he carries that indoor confidence over to the outdoor hard and has a decent outdoor hard sort of mini season as well. That's perfectly possible. But the stats suggest that he's much of a lesser player, if you like, outdoors than than he is on his favourite conditions of indoor hard, and particularly here in Acapulco, where it's slow conditions, as I've said, slow, bouncy, not ideal for Shapovalov really in that single-handed backhand, which he often hits jumping up. He often does that. If you ever watched him on clay, he likes to, or he kind of is forced into hitting a backhand while he's jumping off the ground. It's not. It doesn't mean he's going to be consistent. You're going to have a lot of ups and downs with that. He's never done that well on clay, very rarely anyway. So Shapovalov's obviously coming from indoor hard. If we look at also the odds, I've looked at the opening show here, not rather than what the price is now. Most of my statistics, by the way, tend to be, when I say underdog winners, that tends to be prices based on the opening show rather than the closing show, because that's just how I do it. It's easier for me to do it that way. He's lost 8 of his last 13, Shapovalov, when he's been priced between 1.5 and 1.7, which is minus $2 and minus 143. When he's been in that price range, he's lost 8 of his last 13 on outdoor hard at main level. Going back 3 years, this isn't just a recent phenomenon with him. He's lost a lot of times when he's been a decent favourite. These conditions. I was going to back Basavareddy if I could have had 150 plus 150 or plus 140 plus 135, something like that. But it can only be a lean now, unfortunately, at plus 108. If he does drift out, like Nigel, like you said, I'd be interested then. But just a little bit short now, plus 108. His prices have moved a lot.
Yeah, I think he will. I think he will drift out. Plus 108 is the current price. But what price, if he does drift out, what price would you bet him at? Plus 120?
Yeah, I'd be tempted at plus 120, plus 125, something like that. If he goes around about there, he may get to that price after during the first game or first couple of games or something.
Our final match we are going to discuss in Acapulco is a match between a player that is, who's in dire form. He's lost any confidence and he looks a shadow of the player he was when he broke onto the scene, and that is Holger Rune, the Dane. Minus 315 for Holger Rune, plus 245 for Carballes Baena, 4.5 the spread, 21.5 the totals. Now I'm judging by Sean wanted to put this in that he wants to get with the Spaniard. There is a load of markets to get with the Spaniard if you don't want to trust him on the money line at a big price. But if you have bet him on the money line in his previous matches against Holger Rune, you would have collected twice. He leads the head-to-head 2-1, and those wins were when Holger Rune was in a lot better player than what he was now. He beat him in the first round of the US Open in 2023 in 4 sets, and he beat him on clay in Cordoba. Their record this year is pretty much identical. Rune is 4-4 across all his matches on all courts, and Carballes Baena is 4-5. But he is in a bit of bad form, the Spaniard, hence the reason why he is that. He's lost his last 3 matches, but Rune was dreadful against Martinez, wasn't really much better against Buenos Aires, against Navone, and he's got to improve massively if he's going to justify these heavy price favourites here. Yeah,
there's absolutely no value on him at minus 315. Again, these prices have moved as well. Carballes Baena was, since I've written this, Carballes Baena was plus 350 with Bet Rivers, and now he's down to plus 240, plus 245, which is kind of annoying.
That's a big move. That's a big move, that.
Yeah, I think it's just a correction because it could be money, I don't know, but I would suggest it's a correction because there's nothing statistically to suggest that Rune should have been the price that he was, or even the price that he is now. As you said, he's lost twice in 3 meetings. There is a bit of a caveat about the US Open one, as Rune was, for a change, struggling physically. He said he was injured or sick or something. There was a problem, as there often is with Holger Rune during that US Open match. So maybe you could put a little bit of a question mark over the US Open success for Carballes Baena. But if you look at the head-to-head in the 3 matches that they've played on 3 different surfaces, hard, grass and clay, it's 106-94 in favour of Carballes Baena in terms of their service points won and return points won total. So if you were just looking at those numbers, you would think, well, that's, Carballes Baena should be minus 315 if you were just taking that. Going further into that head-to-head set of stats, Carballes Baena wins 58% of his second serve points compared to 46% for Holger Rune, so quite a big difference there. And obviously in slower conditions, as this is, the first serve is less of a factor. I've said quite a few times on the show in recent times that Carballes Baena is underrated on hard. For me, he's better when it's slightly quicker. Not very quick, but quicker. He went 0-2, I think, on the Golden Swing, didn't he? In sort of slow conditions. Let me look. It wasn't 0-2, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't 0-2. He
Yeah,
lost
Buenos
against,
Aires and Rio. Yeah,
Navone, and he got Lajovic. He got beat, and he's got a winning record this year on hard.
yeah. He's for me. He's won. I think he won Marrakesh. He certainly won and got to the final of quite a few altitude events at on the clay. And his hard court record is a lot better than people kind of give him credit for. If we look at the last 12 months on outdoor hard at main level, it's actually Carballes Baena that's got a slightly better, tiny fractional better set of statistics in terms of their service points won and return points won totals. Rune is on 100.5 and Carballes Baena is on 100.8. So the stats are certainly suggesting a much closer match than the odds are indicating. That's for sure. Again, I don't know whether I'm being a bit greedy here, but I just feel like maybe the value's gone a little bit. Carballes Baena was, as I said, plus 350. Now it's plus 245. I'd still be slightly tempted to go Carballes Baena plus 3.5 here at plus money, plus 110 or thereabouts. That's probably the way that I would go. It's a little bit annoying with the prices moving around. Hopefully it'll move back out the other direction.
Yeah, might be some movement on this one, but Carballes Baena, a big move from plus 350 down to plus 245, and Holger Rune, a very, very uneasy favourite over in Acapulco, something we've said for the last 3 matches that the Dane has played. He's seriously got some problems at the moment, and Carballes Baena could capitalise on that. And also, he might just want to get out of there and get over to the Sunshine Swing and try to get his game back. Final match we are going to discuss is in Santiago in Chile. It's Laslo Djere up against Pedro Martinez. Before we do that, Sean, you've seen 1 round of play. Is there anything that you've taken any takeouts from the conditions that you've seen, or anything you want to tell us or notify us that may be a change or enhance your opinion?
I watched quite a bit of this yesterday. I obviously watched the Hanfman match against Diaz Acosta. I was waiting for him to make a mess of that from a set and a breakup. It was almost a set and a double breakup numerous times. It was a slightly weird performance from Diaz Acosta. I don't know whether he was injured or what, but he wasn't really moving for much. He didn't bother chasing any of the drop shots. He just watched them go over the net and just thought, it's not for me, that. So an odd kind of performance from him. But, I was very happy that Hanfman continued in the style that he has on many occasions at altitude. Yeah, it's quick conditions. It's quick, it's bouncy, it's lively. The ball moves through the air quick, 1,000 meters of altitude here. If you watch the Hanfman match, you can see how high his kick serve gets up in those conditions. So it's, sometimes the clay is a little bit dodgy. Like the players have had a lot of complaints in recent times about the quality of the courts. But yeah, the conditions are as I expected. At 1,000 meters of altitude, it's lively and bouncy.
Yep, and we have the one match we are going to discuss. Laslo Djere, his match there. He did well in the first round. He was highlighted by you as someone who could go quite deep in this tournament. But I just thought the outright price of him put me off completely. Yeah, he's up against Martinez here. Let's have a look at the odds with Bet Rivers. You have Djere here a favourite, minus 225. Martinez at plus 175. The spread is 3.5. Total here is 22.5. If we look at the head-to-head, it's overwhelmingly in favour of Laslo Djere. At least 3-0. The last time they met was in 2024 in Stockholm. 6-2, 6-love. You couldn't get more convincing than that. Well, you can. 2 more games will make it more convincing. And the other 2 matches were a bit of a while ago, in Cordoba in 2020 and Sofia in 2021. But they had the very, very same outcome, where Djere won in straight sets. He is yet to lose a set to Martinez. But let's have a look at these matches here. I mean, the prices have sort of got that in the factored in, because Martinez is a lot higher ranking in the worlds, but Djere's in good form on clay at the moment. Won a challenger event as well, so he's in good form, and he is a heavy favourite with Bet Rivers. He
is in good form, but he's not the most reliable, is he, Djere? Sometimes I've bet him on numerous occasions, and he's kind of slope-shouldered his way through the match and lost in straight sets and gone home. He's not what you would call the most reliable of characters. That's for sure. He is playing well at the minute, as you said, after a bad year with injuries in 2024, but minus 225 is a bit short for my liking against an opponent who, as you said, is playing some great tennis at the minute. He's at a career high, actually, Martinez, in the rankings, 36. That's his best ever ranking. after what's been a very solid sort of year, 12 months for him. And he's a former champion here in Santiago. If you look at the records of this pair in this tournament, they're virtually identical, except Martinez has got a better win rate. Martinez, 78% win rate at this tournament, 7 wins, 2 losses, and the service points won and return points won total of 104. Djere's got exactly the same total, 104, and his win rate is slightly lower on 67%. But yeah, Martinez is, you can't discount him. He does play very well at altitude, not just here. He's made the final in Kitzbühel, where he's 7-3 win-loss at that particular tournament. That's got a similar altitude to here. As I said, he's 7-2 win-loss here in Santiago as well. Djere is also handy at altitude. Gstaad, Kitzbühel, Cordoba, semi-finalist, so he can play at this sort of altitude. I just don't think there's as much in it as these odds suggest. If you look at their last 50 main level matches on clay, which obviously goes back a reasonable distance, I've gone back that far because if I just went 12 months, that probably wouldn't be a fair reflection on Djere because he's been injured for a little bit of time. So the last 50, there's very little in it. Service points won and return points won totals. Martinez 100, Djere 101. So I would suggest that sort of very, very recent form for Djere and the head-to-head is probably the deciding factor in these odds. But 2 of the 3 matches that they played were on indoor hard, and you would expect the bigger server, Djere, the harder hitter, to be at an advantage on indoor hard against the kind of grinding style of Pedro Martinez. I did watch Djere yesterday, actually, against the Peruvian wild card. I mean, he won, pretty handily, but he wasn't that impressive. The wild card did have his moments there. Buse, who's number 200 and whatever he is in the world Peruvian wild card. He had his moments, but ultimately, as you would expect, outmatched. But I just think it might be closer than the odds suggest here. I just don't think Martinez is quite getting enough respect, given how well he plays in these sort of conditions. I think it'll be a battle. I think it'll be a long one. I think it'll be a grind. I'd be surprised if this was a straight sets victory. So over 2.5 sets here is plus 2.43 plus 143 with Bet Rivers. That's where I'll be going here. I expect this will be closer than the odds say.
Yeah, remember you've got a lot of time to place your wager on this. This match actually starts tomorrow. It's not today on Tuesday. It's on Wednesday, and the action starts at 12 o'clock Eastern time. So lots of time to be able to place your bet on here. But over 2.5 sets is the bet from Sean there. So there's a few bets for you tonight, a few bets for you tomorrow, one bet for you tomorrow, 2 tournaments covered, and an outright pick as well. You've got you covered here. Sean, just give us a recap of what your official plays are for today, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
Yeah, there's just going to be a couple of official plays, and both of those are in Acapulco. The outright, as I mentioned, we're just going to take Casper Ruud to win the tournament, plus 650. We bet Rivers. And the match bet is going to be Arnaldi. Matteo Arnaldi is going to, I hope he's going to win a set. So plus 1.5 sets on Matteo Arnaldi at even money with Bet Rivers. That's against Sasha Zverev.
Yep. Remember, please hit the subscribe button. I was looking through some analytics on the channel, and it's about a 50-50 split of the people who watch this show and subscribe and people who don't subscribe. It just hit that subscribe button. You more and more people are watching, more and more people are joining. So just hit the subscribe button. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't cost you anything, and it helps us. It helps us be able to keep doing these shows. More numbers means more shows, and obviously more views means more stuff, more content that we can provide for you, and hopefully you're enjoying it. So please hit that subscribe button. 50-50 split. I think that's quite staggering, really. Anyway, there's lots of more content coming your way. The Premier League this evening on Tuesday and Wednesday. There's Betting Weekly Premier League. Myself, Jack Wright, and Dan Roebuck. Betting Weekly live every day, 11 o'clock Eastern time, 4 p.m. in the UK. One of the handicapping team will be on there, giving you best plays and the market moves from Bet Rivers. There's no Premier League this weekend, but there is Betting Weekly Extra Time. It's a week off the FA Cup in England. But Betting Weekly Extra Time will be back on Thursday, and myself and Sean will be back tomorrow for our final Betting Weekly game bet match of the week. Hopefully we can cash some tickets before then. But the most important thing is hit that subscribe. Half of you watching this show not subscribing. Come on, it's not that hard, is it, Sean?
No, it's not.
Exactly. Subscribe. That's what I want to hear, Paul. That's exactly what I want to hear, Sean. I don't want any of that. Oh, I wonder why they do. Anyway, hit that subscribe button. We'll be back tomorrow looking at the matches across the 3 ATP tournaments this week. And remember, head across to the BetRivers website, all those different markets. And if you do have a bet, you'll be able to watch it live on your mobile device or your laptop. Take care. Speak to you again tomorrow.